It's time for another episode of The Oil Stream with Dustin Nielson and Tom Gazzola, presented by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Oil Stream. Dusty and Tommy Gazzola with you once again. Tommy in the home studio. I am on the road in Vancouver, and we've got some Edmonton Oilers stuff to get to for sure. If you were watching on YouTube, you have any comments, hit us up in the comment section over there. And, of course, you can text us anytime, 780-218-9999. That's 780-218-9999. Tommy Gazzola, what's up, buddy?
Is downloading Sonoma, the new iOS system, and it's got 6 minutes remaining. I'm set up. I'm like, hey, this thing's going to be done right away here. And it's not. So thank you, Apple, and shame on me for thinking that I had more than ample enough time to get it done. So when it's done, I'll switch over and it'll look much better. I'm sorry. This is amateur hour.
Well, we'll take a commercial in about 15 minutes, and then you can switch over, and everything will be fine. What's up, buddy? How'd the Nielsen show go today?
I thought it was a fun Nielsen show. Adam Stanley breaking down the Ryder Cup was excellent, and then Marshall Ferguson right out of the gate, always good to tee up the games in Week 17, and obviously you're going to be a part of that as the second half of the doubleheader, and then he's got the Owls tomorrow and Red Blacks. And then, Redbeard, starting off the weekend right with Sobeys Safeway Liquor Beer of the Week. And then JMO, we also, I stayed longer than I thought I was for the hangout because JMO was there. He brought a Golden Seals jersey.
I saw the jersey, bro. It was awesome. And
we just got into a good groove, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not going to take off. So, the Oilers and their skate was starting at 10:30, and I was like, I'm here, I'm committed. JMO was on fire, and so I stuck around for the hangout, maybe half an hour longer than I anticipated I would.
But you make it to the skate?
No, I didn't make it to the skate.
Oh, you didn't make it to the skate?
Yeah, so I did this stupid update to my computer, which is down to 4 minutes, and here we are.
All right, well, that's good to hear. If you have any questions on the Oilers, I guess we can get to this one. Colton's already in, and hey, tell your friends about the Oil Stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 12 to 1 at edmontonsportstalk.com. They can just easily listen live, or they can watch right here on the YouTube channel as well. Colton says, Steos, why do you do us like that? I mean, I don't think anybody could have been surprised by what ended up happening this morning, Tommy. I mean, this has been in the cards forever. I thought it was going to be locked in and announced 2 weeks ago. It finally does get announced here, but I don't know how anybody could be like, wow, didn't see this coming.
Especially if you ever watch this show. And I think we telegraphed it about a month and a half ago, or a month ago at least. I think, it's been pretty well known that he was likely headed to Ottawa. And it was hilarious today on the Nielsen show when Awanek goes, hey, we got breaking news, and he announces the statement that Jeff Jackson, CEO of the Oilers, made. And then, Dusty, Eric and I are talking about, the reaction and how he's probably going to end up in Ottawa. And literally, Awanek just puts up his hand. He goes, we got breaking news. The Ottawa Senators announce Steve Steos as their president of hockey operations. And we're like, well, that went really quickly and is exactly how we expected it to, except fast forward by about, I don't know. I thought that maybe they would give it like a day or two, and that's why the Oilers got ahead of it. But the fact that it was within minutes was kind of funny.
Moved it around rather quickly. Do you think this is, I mean, maybe it would have been a little bit different if they didn't have Jackson in place, and then you're like looking for this plan after Hall. I'm saying, are people going to view Steos like if he goes to Ottawa, and he's going to a pretty good thing in Ottawa? Like they've got a lot of really nice pieces. They got a good blue line. They've got a real nice top six. They're going to hope that Korpisalo kind of evens up the goaltending a little bit. So there's certainly some potential there in Ottawa. But do you think it ever gets to the point, and we know how Oilers fans like remember things. Again, it's not just Oilers fans, sports fans in general. You'll hold grudges. You'll always remember this thing, even if it's maybe not as significant as you thought it would be. Do you think this ever gets viewed as the one that got away? Like, oh, they should have just turned things over to Steos as opposed to doing what they're doing here.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm sure that some would think that if Staios has success with the Senators, but really, we don't know what kind of president of hockey operations he is at the NHL level. He had a great run in the OHL, and I think that that's an excellent building block, and you learn a ton of valuable lessons when you move on to the National Hockey League. But does it always translate into success? No. Do I think he has a lot of the tools and elements that will make a good president of hockey operations, that could build a good culture and a winning culture, and eventually he becomes an excellent executive at the NHL level? Yeah, absolutely. But like, we don't really know what Steve Staios, the president of hockey operations, or if Steve had stayed here, the GM Steve Staios really was or is, because he didn't have a chance to do it. So, um, yeah, I don't. I think some people might look at it that way, but Dusty, ultimately, we really don't know what Steve Staios, the hockey executive at the NHL level, truly is yet.
Do you think if you're not going to be the GM of the Oilers, and hey, hit us up in the YouTube chat with your comments at 780-218-9999. If you're not going to be the GM of the Edmonton Oilers, do you think Ottawa, with what they've built so far, would be like the next best team to be the GM of? Because you don't have these crazy, stupid Toronto expectations.
Huh.
And you've got a lot of really good pieces in place, and you should only be better. Like Ottawa, if not this year, they got to be in the playoffs next year, and they got to be established in the playoffs for like 4, 5, 6 years in a row. I think I like that's a really good spot to be in. I think I'd probably choose Ottawa as the next team I'd want to take over outside of the Oilers.
Yeah, that's a great situation. I'm looking at other expectations from other organizations. I think Detroit would kind of be one that's kind of up and coming. Buffalo is another one that's up and coming, but Ottawa.
But in Canada, but just in Canada.
Oh, in Canada,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, of course. I mean, Calgary, good on Craig Conroy, God bless him, all that stuff. But like, what's going to happen there? You've got your veterans, as soon as you take the job, are telling you they're leaving. They got Backlund tied up and signed, and they made him the captain. But what happens with Hanifin? What happens with other guys on that roster? So yeah, I guess in Canada, sure, because there is a good vibe with Ottawa, and they probably are going to get a new building right away. So yeah, outside of the Oilers, that is probably best. I was going to say Montreal, but Montreal, you bring up expectation, and that's a tough market.
Tough market.
He doesn't have a French background or anything like that, and I know that's something that's very important, as it should be in Quebec and specifically Montreal. So yeah, that's probably the second best opportunity. And in Vancouver, I think Vancouver, I mean, they've done a lot of work to clean things out, but that's a mess too. That's been a bit of a mess. And you look at their situation and you go, what are you doing, Canucks? What are you doing?
Yeah. The YouTube chat, let's get to a few of these. Colton says, I'm already grudging. He's already grudging on Steve Staios, which I like. I respect that. I respect that, Colton. If you're going to have a good grudge, you got to get to that good grudge early. I think that's probably key there as well. Let's get to a couple of other questions as well. Tommy, are you holding your phone up?
Yeah, because the update worked, so I'm about to log into it. I can't keep holding it. This is stupid.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're doing not bad actually for holding your phone for the first 10 minutes of the oil stream today. Like,
I know.
That's
so
not bad.
Maddie, be ready. I'm coming in hot here.
Are you going to try to do the transition right now? I like that.
Can I do that? Does this program manage it?
I think what would happen is you would probably pop up on your computer and you'd see two, and Maddie would just sort of flip you over. So I think
let me do that.
I think you can probably do that. That would work out. That would work out pretty cool, actually.
Says I'm waiting to join the conversation.
We'll give that a try. Maddie's on the other end.
Yeah,
he'll get.
There we go. Look, there's.
Is there? Oh yeah, there's two of you now. I can see you on my screen, like at the bottom. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going over to my computer.
Yeah, the other one looks way better. So Maddie will flip him in. I'll get to a couple of chats. And 780-218-9999. My God, what happened to Gazzola? Where is he? I'm freaking out right now. Guys, this is from RCN. This has been known since before the Send sale was even closed months ago. Anyone surprised hasn't been paying attention at all. Well done, RCN. That's exactly what we said months ago as well. 780-218-9999 or in the chat. Let's go to Sean. How you doing, buddy? What if the Oilers just extend Holland? Why is Holland gone for sure? Now that's an interesting discussion. I think maybe, as Ken Holland exits to his retirement, that maybe there is a advisory role for him to Jeff Jackson as opposed to the title that he has right now. Tommy, do you think, like, Sean makes a good point. Like, everybody's sort of just assuming Jackson's here now.
Yeah.
Holland's contract's up. He's going to be golfing. He's going to be living his best life. But if things are going really well and maybe they win a cup this year or they're close to it, they come up just short again. I mean, is it crazy to think that there's a couple years of advisory or something for Ken Holland around this organization?
I don't think it's crazy to think, but all the talk around the organization is this is it. Ken knows this is it. And going into the year, people were saying Ken's just going to do his last year. They don't really, I don't know if they're never really ambiguous or have been ambiguous about what Ken Holland's future is with the organization. And Ken hasn't really shied away and said, oh, I don't know. We'll see. I'll take it a day at a time. He says, I'm going to fulfill my contract. This is my last year. I want to leave this organization in great shape, going off to the next guy. And even internally, in let's say the last month, the conversations I've had, it's, this is it for Kenny. This is it for Kenny. He knows. Everybody knows. So that's why I still think that's the plan. Them moving on from Tyler Wright, I think, is a big sign that they're ready to phase into the next chapter. It's a sign that the philosophy will change, and they're literally switching out the quote unquote old guard. And I think that was a good indicator that the plan is still in place for Ken to finish up his last year, and then for them to find a new GM next season. It's also funny that we are a year, maybe a year, I'll be generous, removed from a lot of talk saying Ken Holland has done nothing for this team. They are not anywhere closer, even though they had come off a conference final where they didn't win a game. But people were like, he is not the guy. He is not the guy. And so we're going, well, what about Ken Holland? And I personally, as of today, don't think the plan is going to change where they're going to say, you know what, Ken, we're going to keep you. Do I think Ken would play around with that idea and consider it? Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they get close this year and just miss out on a Stanley Cup. But I think the plan is still for him to finish up this year and for them to move on from him. Could things change? Sure. Do I think they will? Probably not. But I understand. And then the other thing, too, I'll add, this is just me thinking out loud, is when did we know for sure that Steve Staios was going to be the right guy? He was unproven, and there were questions.
I mean, the reason it's a good point, Tommy, because I mean, he's getting the job in Ottawa because he's extremely tight with the owner.
Exactly.
Which to me, it's not like a bunch of other teams are like, oh man, the Oilers got Staios. We really wanted to take him. Mm-hmm. No disrespect to Steve Staios.
No, none.
Like, he could end up being great at the job. But if you look at what happened here, he got involved with his old team, who's very familiar with him, with the Edmonton Oilers, and then went to join his buddy, who's the owner of the Ottawa Senators. Yeah. So I think I saw somebody else say, stupid good looking on the YouTube chat, said Steve has not proven anything at the NHL level to target him as GM, which, I mean, he's probably got a position right now that I don't want to say he's not qualified for it, because who's really qualified for these positions depending on their resume, but that's a big gig to get when you haven't done anything remotely close at the National Hockey League level.
Yeah. And so that's why I think that'll be the big unknown. And we kind of talked about that, but instead of focusing on the negative, I'll look at some of the positive. Like, Steve Staios is a relatively young executive, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's worked his way up the ranks in hockey. He really has. He went from player development, and I think he even spent some time with the Leafs as an assistant coach, and then he went to player development, and then he went to the OHL's Bulldogs and learned that side of the game going down to major junior hockey. So he's put in the time outside of like Steve Yzerman, who spent time behind Kenny Holland and then, went to Tampa and then to Detroit. Like, how many guys like really put in the time being groomed over multiple years at the NHL level before they're bestowed a president of hockey operations job? So yeah, it's the method in which guys become pohos in the NHL isn't one that's like, here's the textbook, this is how you do it. It kind of happens, and the path is from all over the place. Sometimes guys take over as president after working for a different team in a different sport. There's no like real tried and true method. There's ones that we trust and believe in, and I think Steve Staios, that is the path he took, is one that we kind of go, yeah, that makes sense, but he really hasn't proven anything yet. So
wasn't it a
but he has
Chicago
good
baseball?
qualities.
Didn't a Chicago baseball team just hire somebody from the Blackhawks?
Yeah, but he had worked for a
Like,
baseball team prior to that, I
but then he
believe.
flipped back and forth,
Yeah,
right?
or
So
from the
it's
Bulls,
not like
something
you
like
have to
that.
be a
Yeah.
hockey guy or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's an interesting one. We'll get into the lineup here tonight. We know who's going to be dressing. Looks like Jack Campbell is going to start, but I did want to get to this one. Kevin says, "Hey guys, I do have an actual question. Is it time to change the goal song this year?"
Oh.
Tommy, what do you think about the in-house vibes with the music and stuff?
I actually think that the in-house entertainment, or like the in-house production, has gotten better. It has been up for a couple of awards in the last.
First of all, wait, there's awards
Yeah,
for in-house entertainment?
Yes, there
Wow.
is. There's like it's like the North American professional sports teams. They're judged on their in-house entertainment, and I think the Oilers the last couple of years have been one of the finalists for a couple of different categories. And so like Lindsey Gullett is the guy running it now. He's done a great job. He took over from Rich Myers, who had a lot of fantastic ideas, kind of had his hands tied behind his back by people that shouldn't be making decisions on in-house production, but unfortunately were. They literally had a script, and I don't know how much exists to this day with the production crew, but they took that script over from Rexall Place, and it was one that had been maintained for years and years and years, and that's why you didn't really see any change. And anytime you tried to veer away from that script, you get pee-pee whacked basically. And I think finally there's been some.
Is there a lot of pee-pee whacking around there?
For a lack of a better term, there can be. I'm sorry.
I like Tommy getting up early to do my show and then dropping pee-pee wax on the oil stream a little bit later on in the day.
I'm tired, dude. I'm so tired, and I don't know how you do it. It's amazing.
To be honest with you, I do it in zombie mode basically 4 days a week. So the oil stream is brought to you in part. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to step in and whack your pee-pee.
Thank you. Anyway, I think that they've done a better job, and they've got some elements right. Is it perfect? No, but it's overall a good show. The goal song, I don't mind it. They've had worse goal songs in recent years, and they just went to this one. Like it's okay. I don't think you're going to please everybody. You're not going to find a Chelsea Dagger. They tried. They literally had Ben Broder, who brought Chelsea Dagger to the Blackhawks. He was the in-house game presentation director for the Oilers from like 2010 to 2014 or 15. And he again had to deal with a lot of the bureaucracy and red tape, and eventually, they parted ways with him, and then he went to the Devils, and now he's with the Red Wings. So
I think I wouldn't mind the new song after a win. I still like playing La Bamba in there after, but the song right after, like when McDavid scored the other night, I'm watching, and the song hits again, and I was like, oh yeah, that one again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, I don't know, fresh up there. You're still going to transition and move it into La Bamba, but yeah, I don't know.
You know what? The show can evolve. You can add layers. So if Kevin wants a new goal song, like I don't mind the idea of individual goal songs. I actually think that's kind of neat. You just have to know which guy scored and get it right, which is sometimes tough.
It's not hard. I mean, I've worked a little game day. Like for the Lethbridge Bulls 18 years ago, we had a program where when somebody came to it, you just push one button.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, right? So you have the guy running the game day.
Yeah.
Oh, McDavid scored, button.
Yeah.
Button. Like it's not rocket science, right?
So if you have a goal mouth scramble and it goes in off of someone,
that's then you play a generic song.
Yeah,
like something along
the
those
one
lines.
That everybody gets. Yeah.
If you don't know, that could be something that you would look at there. The doc is in. It says the Oilers need to stop screwing around and make the goal song. Whoop! There it is by Tag Team. Back again. That would be. Whoop, there it is.
all the kids at the game, like from 10 to 25, are like, what the hell is this?
What is this?
What is this? I was having a conversation with YouTube Trev recently, and
he's a little guy. He's a youngin'.
Yeah, I'm referencing stuff that he has no clue what it is. And then today he's telling me, I think it's SEO is the term. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? You just do it. I believe,
I'm going to guess this. SEO would be search engine optimization, but I might be wrong on it.
I believe that is exactly what
I've been in meetings with people and they're like, oh, this is how we approach our SEO. And I was like, oh, yeah, we also approach the CO the same way. Like,
yeah. So this is
why Trev's here, man, to teach us cool terms that modern day people are using.
Exactly. Yeah. So, anyway.
Let's get to this one from Tube Socks and says they should take a page from the green and gold and get that fisherman's friend promotion into Rogers Place. Remember, that was one of the biggest promotions of Commonwealth there for a while. So, fisherman's friends. That was a Kiss Cam promotion, wasn't it? It would make sense if it was a Kiss Cam promotion.
Fisherman friends supposed to be it's a lozenge.
Yeah, but it would still freshen your breath a little bit, I would think.
Yeah, I suppose so. Do you remember when they had like the Chimo pierogi toss in the stands? That was
with the big pierogi?
Mm-hmm.
That big pierogi? Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
I don't
mind the Chimo pierogi toss.
I like a good Chimo pierogi.
Where is it? Was it at the I can't remember if it was at the Elks game or another game, but like from the bottom of the section all the way up to the top of the section, 2 sections went head to head, and they had to like move a huge pizza box all the way up. Was that at Commonwealth?
They did that at Commonwealth, yeah.
Like this year?
I don't know if it was this year.
Well, I saw it somewhere this year.
Hey,
and that's kind of a fun one too.
The last couple of years, if you tried one of those contests, like it would be pretty tough to even get the item up because there's so many gaps in the seats.
There's the space in the seats makes it somewhat difficult. Yeah,
when you actually had 30 to 35,000 people in the stands because
moves up a lot quicker.
Yeah, it moves up a lot quicker.
At that point, you just hand it to the fastest person in your section, and they carry it up the stairs as quickly as they can.
Exactly.
I don't know if there's rules against that or not, but that's probably the way you would do it.
Yeah.
The Oil Stream brought to you by Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen. They've got those delicious wings, the sweet and spicy wings on now, 6-piece, 12-piece, so everyone to get it. Ghost pepper seasoning with a little sweet Thai chili sauce.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get those in studio next week. That would actually be a pretty good idea. A little lunch for the boys. That would be pretty fun. I like that. All right, let's get to this question because it comes in and we'll get into actually, you know what? Let's take a quick break. Let's pause quickly. We'll come back, transition to the game tonight. We'll take a look here. A few guys certainly worth talking about on the roster tonight. So I don't know if Maddie's still kicking around back there, but Maddie, take us to break if you are kicking around, and we'll be back diving into tonight's game against Calgary.
The Lock Shop.
We've been doing this for a long time. We spend all this time salivating over the season. Sometimes, if you haven't learned your lesson, you go hard betting on week 1. And then we get ready to get into week 3 of the season going, what the hell were we talking about for a month leading into the season? Because everything we thought was the case was wrong. So I always tread a little lightly. And I try not to make these so definitive takes. Things can change very, very quickly, or maybe they have and we just haven't seen it yet.
The Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for The Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Wake up with the Nielson Show with Dustin Nielson and Lieutenant Eric. Weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey, Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast, located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Welcome back to the Oil Stream, everybody. Dusty and Tommy with you. Oil Stream brought to you in part by our great partners at Boston Pizza, where kids have been eating for free the entire month of September. And hey, it's Friday. You want to go get some fish bowls? Gather the boys up. Gather the girls up. Heck, sneak your kids in and get yourself on. I'm talking into the lounge and get yourself in on the Fish Bowl Friday at Boston Pizza. But huge shout out to them for everything they did in September with kids eat free. Big Maple Sports Cards on the YouTube chat here says, I saw a picture of a restaurant called Restaurant Near Me, and the meme caption said, the ultimate SEO hack, which is really smart. That's really clever. Well done, sirs. That's good stuff. All right, if you're watching on the YouTube chat, feel free to chime in over there. 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, and we will get to a few more of those messages as we work our way through this lineup. This is what the Edmonton Oilers will be rolling out tonight. I don't think we got any line combinations anywhere. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tommy, but I don't think I saw those anywhere. But we do have the rosters for tonight. Olivier Rodrigue and Jack Campbell going for the Edmonton Oilers tonight. Let's just start right there, Tommy. What are you expecting to see from Jack Campbell, buddy?
Well, now we get to see Jack Campbell with a full summer working in his new Bauer pads and his new chest protector, as opposed to using the chest protector he had all throughout junior hockey and his early professional career. They were able to get him to switch it up, and let's see what the summer did for Jack Campbell. And I think a good showing here will be a nice building block. It's almost like when he had his restart in January and played all those games while Stuart Skinner was awaiting the birth of his son. And, it's kind of like, well, Campbell had a good game. How will he do his next start? And then he went on a nice run, and he actually beat some good teams, and he was holding teams to less than 4 goals. And then that kind of wilted away, and Stuart Skinner had to come back in and take over again. This is the same type of thing. Like, can he have a good preseason? Can he get his confidence going? I think like goals against average, save percentage, as long as they're in the vicinity of decent, like over 900 and less, around or less than 3. Like he doesn't have to have like a 1.9 GAA and a.
Well, if he does, they're winning the Stanley Cup. Well, that's simple.
Yeah, let's just go right to that. Sure. Yeah. Anyway, as long as he's showing well, he's not letting in a stinker every night, and he doesn't have that sag after a performance. I think that's setting the bar low, but it's a good start, and then he can build off of that. I think he's in a good spot, and let's see if all that hard work and the mental ease in the offseason paid off, and he comes in refreshed and ready to go and doesn't feel like the weight of the world's on his shoulders because he's the number one guy that's making $5 million a year for this team.
For everybody listening or watching right now, are you confident in a year 2 Jack Campbell bounce back? What say you? 780-218-9999 or in the YouTube chat right now on the Edmonton Sports Talk YouTube channel. In order to be better than last season, like he could go 890, 3.30, Tommy, and that's better than last year. Like last year's numbers were awful. 3.41 goals against average, by far the worst in his career. And the 888 save percentage was the first time ever that he'd been under 900 in the save percentage category. So the Jack Campbell we saw last year is not the Jack Campbell that had been even the ups and downs in his time, in his career already, never got as down as things got last year with him. So there's really, I mean, if he has numbers that are worse than last year's this year, we might be talking about, does this dude have a career moving forward? Because you can't roll out as a guy who wants to be a number one and drop back-to-back 880s. Like that just simply can't happen. So there's really only an upward trajectory here when you look at it from an Oilers perspective, considering how good the team was last year, how close they were, against Vegas, and possibly if you get by them, you win the entire Stanley Cup. And for lack of a better term, Jack Campbell played like shit last year. It's just that simple. So if he's remotely better at all in any way, that's huge news for a team that's already really good, even with the way he was last year.
Yeah. And I know his win-loss record was, the result of playing behind a really good team. And so, if he can minimize that, he's going to be in a good spot. I don't think that there's any patience for Jack Campbell to find his game again. Certainly not with the fan base. I know the organization doesn't want to go through that again. They are expecting him to bounce back. The fan base expects him to be much better. And I think he expects to be much better. And then on top of that, media-wise, all right, what are you? And we'll go from there and deal with it accordingly. But I don't know how much worse it could get personally for Jack Campbell on the ice than the lows we saw last year. And the peaks weren't that high either. Outside of his win-loss record, the valleys were more profound and the peaks were modest, let's say. But he did put together one good month, but one good month when you're expected to start as close to 50% of the games as possible is inadequate. So if he plays like he did last year in the regular season, I could see him being sent down on a conditioning stint. I could see them trying to find their way out of that contract, a la Cal Peterson and the LA Kings. But lots of positivity starting things out. Expectation is higher. I think that he's in a good spot to actually bounce back strong here. Now, it's up to him to make it happen.
21, 9, and 4 next year. You mentioned he did get a lot of run support. I've got his game log from last year in front of me, Tommy. Of those 21 wins, how many in those games do you think his team scored 3 goals or less?
3 goals or less? Like 2.
You're right.
Yeah.
Like this is his wins last year. Late there in the regular season against Anaheim, picked up a 3-1 win. They won 6-0. In March last year, he only played in 3 games. He won 2 of them. The team scored 5 goals in both of those games. In February of last year, he won 2 games. The team scored 6 and 5. In January, when he went on his heater, the team scored 7, 5, 5, 4, 7, 6, and 4. He won 1 game in January. They scored 6. He won 3 games in December. They scored 4, 3, and 2. And then the games that he won in October, that was in November. And then in October, he won 4 games. They scored 6 goals, 6 goals, 6 goals, and 5 goals. Like there can't be a goaltender anywhere in the National Hockey League, including Stuart Skinner, that had more run support than what Jack Campbell had last year. And that might have been because the team knew that the goals were going to be scored, so they kind of opened it up a little bit. So I'm interested to see how this team plays in front of him this year, Tommy.
Yeah. Fully anticipate that they are better as a 5-man unit in front of him. Now, the pucks that do get through, he should make those saves, especially the ones that he can see.
There was too many last year that he could see that just straight up beat him.
Yeah, and there's ones that went through him. The night he called himself pathetic, or that was like an afternoon game against the Dallas Stars. That's where the one went through his glove, and then not long after that, there was another one that went through his glove, and there were a lot of goals that you saw Jack Campbell react with like a shrug and his hands in the air, and you're like, what was that? Why did that go in? How did that go in? That is puzzling. And then there were also like really ugly scramble goals, like by the post, that squibbed their way in. And you're like, that's just a lack of confidence. And I'm sure Dustin Schwartz. And did you notice too last year when he would, go side to side, it was almost like he would just sprawl out instead of push off. And that's something that maybe
we saw that. That was a Mike Smith thing too. When things were going well, Smith sprawled as opposed to push and move, right? So, I could see that. Corey's in it, says Campbell will be okay. The team will be better defensively.
That's the hope.
You used the key word there, the hope. We don't know if they're going to be better defensively because we've been saying, this year they're going to be better defensively for a few years now. So full season of Ekholm would be the main driver in that. I don't think all of a sudden that top six becomes a defensive stalwart group of forwards. I think a full season of Ekholm probably helps that.
That'll help. If the forwards do get better in their own zone, and that is something that has been talked about publicly, and they made no qualms about it. Maybe there has been some wrinkles thrown into how the team is defending. Some of their neutral zone has looked a little bit different, and same with their forecheck. So maybe they try to throw some different looks at the forwards to improve the defensive game overall. And if it takes just slightly, that I think that will help, and that might shave off a few goals here and there, and not missing checks. That's a big one too. Like if you get beat in a puck battle and the other guy out muscles you, or another guy, like the players in the NHL are so skilled, so strong, that's going to happen. But like missed assignments, there are a lot of times we would see guys not look behind them or do a shoulder check, or didn't bother to stick lift, or they didn't take that extra stride to keep pace. Those ones are the ones that are leaving a sour taste in everyone's mouth. When you lose a battle, you go, but he battled, he was there, he was in the right spot. The other guy just beat him. Those are ones that you still don't like, but you go, okay, I can see at least the effort was there. He was in the right place. Stick it to the system. It's the mental lapses that they need to eliminate, those types of goals allowed.
Brent on the YouTube chat says, how about we stop talking about the regular season? How did Campbell do in the playoffs? And, that's a good thing to bring up at this point. In the playoffs, he had a .961 save percentage and 1.02 goals against average, coming in relief efforts. One game he played 17 minutes, made 4 saves, played 22 minutes, made 9 saves, 27 minutes, stopped 9 of 10. And then in that huge game against the Kings, when he came in and played 50 minutes, stopped 27 of 28. That was just massive. And that was the one that kind of led to the conversation of, do you get him in there a little bit more? And they never decided to go down that route. With that being said, as impressive as the .961 and 102 is, super small sample size. He faced 51 shots. So
in that,
that's a positive for him. But at the same time, it still wasn't positive enough for the coach to go to him at any point, like in a significant spot to start a game. So I don't know how much you want to read into that, but the numbers were good.
They were,
but there just weren't a lot of them, I guess.
That win against LA, which was monumental, and good on Jack Campbell for making the saves that he did. But I remember sitting with Cass watching that game, and we were seeing some of the saves that he was making. And Cass and I would just look at each other. We're like, I think that like any puck going towards the net has a chance tonight. And he would make those saves. And sometimes they were lucky. Sometimes it was, pure skill, right anticipation by Campbell, and he deserves all the credit in the world for those saves. But I don't think that Jack Campbell instilled a ton of confidence in his teammates with that performance and that 27 save on 28 shot night. I think that was like a lucky one where you felt like, oh, we got away with one, and good on Jack for stepping up. It just, you always, I think, in the back of your mind thought when Campbell was in there, well, when's the nasty goal going to drop? When's that ugly one that he tends to let in going to go in? And that's not a good mindset. That doesn't breed confidence. And I think that's why we saw Stuart Skinner, who was not playing great, especially by the second round, keep getting the starts over Jack Campbell.
This text into 780-218-9999 from Dirty Dawn. I think Campbell will bounce back. If he did the mental progress this last summer, I wouldn't be surprised if his save percentage hits .920. I like that one. That's pretty good. Eden is in and says, so you guys are saying that McDavid wouldn't have gotten 150 points without Campbell, which is an interesting way to look at it because it was forcing them to push things offensively a little bit. D. White on the YouTube chat. Very inconsistent, boys, with the goalie critique. Skinner goes 883 and 368, and it wasn't the goalie's fault in the playoffs, but Campbell is a bum with an 880 and a 341 in the regular season. I don't think. Yeah.
We didn't give Stuart Skinner a pass on that. We said he was bad. He needed to be better. But the body of work going into the playoffs from Stuart Skinner was head and shoulders above what Jack Campbell had done. He got them through that first round, and then he faltered in the second round big time. And listen, he was not spotless in the first round either. So D. White, like I understand where that thought is coming from, but we have said Stuart Skinner was not good enough in the playoffs. And we're saying,
well, he wasn't even remotely close to good enough in the playoffs, right?
And trying to decipher and break down why Jack Campbell didn't get a start because Stuart Skinner wasn't good enough, but they ended up going to him anyway, was because of how bad of a season Campbell had. And the fact that he, saved their butt in that game in LA, I don't know if that, I know it wasn't enough. We know it wasn't enough to instill the confidence in the coaching staff to start him, because I think they saw what we saw, and that was Campbell make some lucky saves. Again, he deserves credit for making those saves, but I don't think the Oilers going and looking at his body of work last season were like, hey, we need to start Jack because he made 27 of 28 saves. And some of those saves were outstanding. Some of those saves, it was like, oh, he just got lucky. And you still had that, I think, worry in the back of your mind that anything getting towards the net, even in that game, might go in.
I was just looking right now over at our partners at CoolBet on the Campbell Skinner Vezina odds. So if you'd like to sprinkle this a little bit. No, they're not good. I mean, if you just look at the Vezina odds, and you can bet NHL futures right now. I know in the Lock Shop we're talking a lot about NFL, CFL, Ryder Cup this week, but obviously we'll be betting hockey. We'll be doing some hockey futures episodes next week as well. The winner for the Vezina Trophy right now at coolbet.com, Shesterkin 6-1, Sorokin 6-1, and Saros 6-1. Then you go Hellebuck, Ottinger, Vasilevsky, Georgiev, Allmark. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting. Jack Campbell is at 50-1 in a group with Bobrovsky and Anderson and Gibson and Akira Schmid and actually Schmid's 40-1. So Campbell's in a group at 50-1 with Kemper, Bobrovsky, Freddie Anderson, and John Gibson. Stuart Skinner is 100-1. So they've got the odds makers, and odds makers sometimes know, but they've got Jack Campbell at 50-1 and Stuart Skinner at 100-1. So if you like Stuart Skinner to follow up his season last year, maybe the Oilers go, it's going to be tough because they're both going to split. I mean, neither of these guys are going to be in the mix, but I just thought I'd pass it along that Stuart Skinner's 101 right now to win the Vezina, and Jack Campbell is 50-1. Now this comes across as a ridiculous preseason question. However, I think in Jack Campbell's spot, it's probably more relevant than anybody else on this team right now, Tommy. How important is tonight's game to Jack Campbell? Because if he plays well, that's great. But if he doesn't look good in a preseason game, people, us included. We're not trying to separate ourselves from everybody, but this
No.
is Edmonton. I mean, this is a hardcore hockey town. If he does
Yep.
not play well in preseason action, you're going to go, uh-oh, what's wrong? Like, I actually think it's a really important game, as stupid as that is to say about preseason.
It would get in his head, I think. And I think him creating that certainty in his mind that he's more than capable of providing steady goaltending at this level is something that he needs to make sure he feels solid about. And I think today, getting off on the right foot would be huge in making sure that that path forward is clear. So if he goes and he lets in 2 stinkers and they barely win, I think that will mess with him. If he goes out and the goals that he gets scored on tonight are screens where he can't see the puck, or just like 2-on-1s or odd man rushes where, you see a pretty passing play. If he lets a couple of those in, fine. But if he lets in like a crappy goalmouth scramble where his foot's not on the post, or he lets one sail past him from 45 feet out when he should have had his glove a little bit higher, that would be ones that I go, uh-oh, because that's supposed to be ironed out of his game going into this season.
D says, not important at all. It is preseason. D, God love you. And I appreciate everybody who's watching on the chat and people who are texting in right now. I just think it's a little bit different when it comes to Jack Campbell. I mean, if Jack Campbell comes out and plays extremely well, that's huge for Jack Campbell, even if it's preseason, right? Because that way, when you get rolling into regular season, he's already got some confidence. He doesn't have to come in and be like, God damn it, I got to get it going again. So I think
what he is right now?
big.
Dusty, you know what Jack Campbell is right now? Derek Zoolander, when he sees that puddle on the street and he
looks into it.
Who am I? That's Jack Campbell.
Who am I?
Yeah, that's Jack Campbell right now.
God, I love that movie. Zoolander's a great flick. Lunenberg says the thing between Campbell and Skinner is just the level of activity needed to make saves. Anytime a guy has to make a highlight reel save, it generally means he was out of position. Give me a guy who makes saves boring. That being said, I do think he'll bounce back this year. And they're 2 extremely different goaltenders. I mean, pretty much night and day, really.
And I'll reiterate this. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the week. Jack Campbell is in a good headspace without having played a preseason game yet. He physically looks good. He looks leaner in the face. Looks like he put in a lot of work in the gym in the off season. And again, like, the whole pads thing, that should be in the past. So he's done everything he can, it seems like, to put himself in a position to succeed. Whether or not he does, we start to see that tonight.
MJS says, I like Campbell's chances of bouncing back. I base this on hearsay and a personal hunch. That's what we base everything on. So don't worry. You're just like everybody else.
Familiar.
Yeah. This is an interesting point from Brenton. It'll tie into the discussion that we're going to have here quickly about the rest of the lineup. He says, I think it's a terrible decision to start Campbell tonight with the lineup they're putting out there and what the Flames are going with. So let's take a quick look at this. We kind of said Olivier Rodrigue and Jack Campbell, and then we stopped there, and the last 20 minutes have been about Jack Campbell, which is nice to have that discussion. But here's the rest of the lineup. So the Oilers will be rolling out Ceci, Kulak, Desharnais, Peters, Campany, Malign, and Hoffenmeyer. And then Drake Caggiula, Derek Ryan, Greg McKegg. These are not line combinations. This is just numerical order of the roster. Caggiula, Derek Ryan, McKegg, Peterson, Griffith, Malone, Fogle, Carter Savoy, Xavier Bourgault, Dylan Holloway, James Hamblin, and Raphael Lavoie. So interesting. There's a lot of opportunity there for those guys right now, which is good to see tonight. However, Brent makes an interesting point, because if you're going to throw Jack Campbell behind that team tonight, they're going to be facing Rasmus Andersson, Tanev, Hanifin, Poirier, Osterley, and Solyov. And then Huberdeau, Backlund, Sharangovich, Coleman, Lindholm, Dubé. I mean, that's Kadri, Schwint, Bishop, Hazonik, Coronado, and Dewar. So the Calgary Flames are dressing a pretty significant lineup tonight. So Jack Campbell should get a decent amount of work. But I could see, if we're sitting here talking about how important this start, as ridiculous as that sounds, and I still hate saying it, but I partially believe it, could be a tough spot tonight. I mean, if he plays well against this Flames team tonight with a group of Oilers in front of him, that'd go a long way for his confidence.
And that's kind of the way it goes in early preseason. Is you're at home, you dress some of your good guys, you're on the road. You're dressing the guys that are still hanging around to make sure you can give the big dogs their rest until they play the last, 2 preseason games, whatever. Again, when you compare those lineups, and I'm still going, okay, will he let in the crappy goal, or will those elite or really good stars on the Calgary Flames make Campbell work and then score highly skilled goals, because that's what they do. So that's kind of how I'll look at it tonight after knowing what the rosters are. So I think that's what it comes down to. Like, if Huberdeau takes a shot from the corner and banks one in off of Campbell's foot, we're going, uh-oh, here we go again. But if Huberdeau makes an amazing play, walks 2 guys, and then gives Lindholm a tap in, is it Jack Campbell's fault? No. So we'll have to see what kind of goals go in on Jack Campbell tonight. And I think that'll give us a better gauge of where he's at.
All right, your thoughts one last time, 780-218-9999, or in the YouTube chat as well. This can't just be a coincidence. We were just talking about the movie Zoolander, and on the YouTube chat, somebody's named Honest Hansel, which is just insane. Says Campbell's performance will be based on how they defend. It seems based on the last game, the coaches are stressing defense right now. Also, Zoolander movie rocks. So I'm assuming somebody with the name Hansel is going to like the movie Zoolander. But that's just a really, really weird coincidence. Tommy, you and Matt have been talking about pregame, postgame. What's the plan here?
Yes. Pregame gets going on tomorrow night. And it'll be at 6:00 we start, and we'll just do an hour pre and post. Matty Cassie and myself and Owanik, and YouTube Trav will be learning the ropes when it comes to producing that. And of course, text us via the nasty chat and our inbox. And we're not doing phone lines, at least not to start.
The inbox and stuff will be, I mean, the inbox and the YouTube chat, buddy, you'll have a ton of comments.
Yeah.
So.
And truth be told, like, there would be some stupid calls that we would get. I should
Don't worry about it, man.
Yeah, there was one guy that always said that Jim Benning was supposed to take over. You got to fire Ken Holland, and you got to hire Jim Benning, and he'd fix the Oilers. Like, I should have told Jeff Walker not to accept calls from that individual, but I didn't, and so he threw him on, and sure enough, we got that garbage of a call. But you know what? Actually, towards the end of our run at 1260, the calls, especially in the
find
playoffs,
guys, right? Like,
were pretty good. Yeah, lots of emotion. But at this time of year, and even in the regular season, we had. Let's just put it this way: we had more people whenever we would take calls bitch about the calls and the callers.
It always drove content. Like, pretty much.
Yeah.
Look, if you're watching right now, hammer that thumbs up button. That would be great for us. And we are very excited to continue to promote the fact that we will have a Oilers pre and post game show every single game in the regular season and the playoffs. Because when we sat around and decided to create Edmonton Sports Talk and EdmontonSportsTalk.com, we thought, who in the world would launch an online station, or any station for that matter, without having Oilers pre and post game content? It would make no sense. So Tommy's going to be pre and post every single game. You'll be able to watch on YouTube on your way to the game and on your way home from the game. EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Listen live. Click the button. We're working on a few ways to actually be even easier for you to consume our content. So on the way to the game, on the way home from the game, EdmontonSportsTalk.com will have you covered every single game all season long. So make sure you tell your friends about it, because they might hop in the car and have to listen to music, whereas you can just throw it on and tune in right here to the pre and post game show. So really looking forward to that. I think you guys are going to do an absolutely amazing job with it, and I look forward to just sneaking into it sometimes. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, no, that'll be good. All right, thanks for filling in for me today, buddy. I think that's the last Friday I have to miss with the CFL. So that's a positive. Looking forward to being locked in here every single Friday moving forward as we get hockey season fully ramped up. Watch our socials. We're going to be revealing our lineup of hockey insiders that will begin next week as well. We're pretty excited about the group that we put together, in addition to Ian Rappaport, who we already have, who's one of the best NFL insiders in the biz. Tommy, get us out of here, buddy, and you get some rest, my man. Get a nap in today, hey?
I have a couch in my studio. I will be promptly going over there and having a great little shut seat. But having said that, Dusty, thanks for trusting me with your show on Edmonton Sports Talk. Just
Wait,
like
stop,
you did
stop,
back
stop,
in
stop, stop.
1260.
Did you just call a nap a shutsy?
Yeah.
Never heard that before in my entire life.
This is not a new
I
thing.
nap all the time. I think it's a new thing.
This is an old term. You
Really?
can use it. Yeah.
I might start using it.
Yeah. Please do.
You say gonna get some shutsy or gonna have a shutsy?
Have a shutsy. Take a shutsy.
Wow. Unbelievable. You learn something new every day on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. All right, get us out of here, buddy.
All right. Thank you for tuning in, texting in. Nasty chat, always a pleasure. Like, share, subscribe. I think our subscription numbers are going up. And, if you want to listen at a later time, you can download the podcast that we cut up and post. Enjoy the Oilers and Flames tonight. We'll see you tomorrow on Hello Hockey, 10 a.m. right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Myself, Sean Bell. And then Oil Stream pre- and post-game show gets going finally for the first time tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Dusty, have a great call tonight in the Riders-Lions game.
Enjoy your shutsy, buddy. See you later.